This is the Hot Girls Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Salenna Green, and we are here with Keishia. This Hot Girls Healing Podcast is a space for everyone. This is a space where we discuss diverse topics and how they relate to healing. So get into the conversation using the hashtag Hot Girls Healing on social media and follow our pages as well. Today, me and Keisha are actually going to be talking about one of my favorite things to talk about. Child, one of my favorite ways to exercise, one of my favorite things to do, child. We're talking about sex and relationships today, y'all. And I'm very excited to get into this topic. But before we jump into these questions and what even brought us to the topic, child, let's get to know our guest today. Keisha is an awesome person, and I'm getting to know her through this podcast community. So, Keisha, come introduce yourself to these people.
Oh, hi. My name is Keishia Merced. I was formerly on a podcast called The Late Night Flight. I'm currently on a podcast called Talk My Credo. We also have one called Podvengers. And of course, I'm also guesting on other people's podcasts until I start my own podcast. Right now, it's known as Yo Keishia, but that could change. And You can catch me on all social media platforms under Product of Jersey, just like Product of Mexico. So same thing, but all one word. Thanks for having me.
Yay! I know y'all better get out there and follow my good sis. Okay, so I'm really excited to have you here. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. We had a great time chatting, before leading up to this podcast. Um, let's get into it. So tell me and the listeners more about your dating experience and especially during this panini
Mm,
because things were happening.
yeah. Yes. Well, I actually was divorced in 2020. So like right after like the highlight of COVID, I was going through a divorce and it finalized in 2020 and I had been married for 14 years. So dating, I haven't done dating in forever. So coming into dating during COVID was kind of even more difficult than just coming into dating after, being married for so long. And it's really a funny story. A friend of mine was like, "You should get on some dating apps," and I'm like, "I don't know." And he was like, and he hadn't dated in years, so I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna trick him." I'm like, "If when you start dating, I'll jump on the app." And then he actually decided to start dating, so I jumped on the app. I don't even remember the name of the app, but I met some really smart and intelligent men on the app. I didn't have any I might have like maybe two horror stories, but I don't know. Maybe one catfish. So
Oh wow.
but yeah, other than that, I met a lot of quality gentlemen on there who I am still kind of friends with, because some people start to talk to each other in a dating way, but then realize like this would be more like a friendship. Like I
Hmm.
like you as a person, and let's continue to be friends. And I've learned so much from the ones I became friends with. But dating during COVID, like the COVID dating was hard because we were at kind of like stay at home, and when you stay at home, you can't really date. So um, at the end of the day, I know I didn't. I actually experienced this, but what I learned was that females, I guess, was allowing guys to invite them to their house. Of course, after seeing a COVID test or whatever reason, and these gentlemen were like taking it upon themselves to think that every female wanted to come to their house, and I was like, no, that COVID dating culture was awful. Like come over, we'll eat, and then next thing you know, they want to lay down with you. And you're like, listen, I don't know what these women or whatever you're dating doing, but I don't do that. So I definitely was like leaning more towards, FaceTiming or WhatsApp, because you can't just give anybody your number right off the bat. You kind of be like,
Right.
hey, yeah, let's get
WhatsApp
on
is
WhatsApp.
clutch. Yeah.
Let's get on WhatsApp. So we get on WhatsApp and conversate on there, converse on there. And then when I felt comfortable, we would do things like a web date. So, basically you'll get on WhatsApp and video chat with each other while you're cooking a meal, basically talk about what you prepared on top of getting to know each other. And then when you're done, just, we just sat there and ate, our dinner and had, more conversations. So it was a rough thing too, like I was getting double tapped, like you just now became single after 14 years, so you don't know this dating pool or this dating world, and then COVID hit, so it's just it was a lot.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
That is a lot. How did that affect like sex and pleasure for you?
Yeah, that was like, oh wow, because after a couple of days, you kind of like listen. The way they was expecting is like, oh, you kind of, I kind of didn't really, I wasn't really, feeling that. But it also, like, friends of mine who was married, stuck in a house with each other, went through a lot of things where they divorced too, but it was going through a divorce or trying to divorce, but kind of was stuck with each other because it's COVID, so you can't, actively go look for an apartment. So now you're stuck in a house with somebody you want to be with, but I was lucky enough to not have that situation. So I mean, that was like, I don't even, like, so long ago, but sexually it was hard. You
Another
got to kind of,
lifetime.
yeah, you kind of got to, learn yourself. At that point, you got to learn yourself, and once you learn yourself, you just continue to date and just continue to love yourself. But when you meet somebody that you genuinely have good conversations with, and you both agree on, the way that your relationship's gonna go, or situationship, or friends with benefit, whatever everybody want to call it, casually dating. That's what I usually call it. That's what I used to call it when I was doing it. But as long as you guys have a set way y'all want to do it, and the guy agrees and you agree, and everybody want to be safe, you could just find that one person. I'm not trying to tell people what to do. I'm not saying you got to be one person, but you could find people that you agree with, and you believe that they're healthy, and they want to be open and honest with you, and then you just go ahead and move forward with your sexual activity with them. Casual date or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, yes. And I feel like you already getting into it, but I want to talk more about like how to keep sex good. Because you're talking about a 14-year long relationship. You're talking about entering into new relationships with people who may not know what you like sexually yet. You know what I mean? How do you get that good sex and keep that good sex? Like I want to talk about that because I feel like you're already talking about it a little bit with this communication and
Yeah.
we agree into the same things.
Yeah, it's
You
like,
feel me?
yeah, especially when you meet somebody who you have good chemistry with. I mean, people that are, I sometimes feel like when you, because like even when, like, outside of a relationship, even if you're like in school, and you're not in your hometown, you moved out of town, and then you meet somebody from, I'm from the East Coast, or from the South, and you start talking to each other, and like, you kind of sound, and they like, oh, I'm from so and so, and then it's like this already coolness between y'all, because you kind of like have lived in the same area, you talk the same slang, so it kind of makes it better. So when you meet somebody who have really good chemistry, and you can just freely talk to them, that's the best thing. I met somebody in my dating after the catfishing, and after the crazy ones, I met somebody, he was a little younger but very mature, and we talked about everything. I told him about my, me going through a divorce, me not being ready for a relationship at the time. We kind of set boundaries, and then we just had a casual relationship, and yeah, he was a really good person, and we would do fun things, like play board games, and all kinds of stuff. Go out, not go out, but like I would bring. He would be like, I'm a cook dinner, and then I'll be like, well, I'm gonna bring the, he like Welch's grape. I'll make the steak. You bring the Welch's grape, because
Mhm.
that's, because he was, we was from the East Coast, so it was a little inner joke, but we just had really good chemistry. So I did find one person that I really connected with. We both had really busy lives, so it was just like when our schedule was aligned, it was it was like,
Mhm.
okay, it's go. But in the midst
Mhm.
of that, before anything even started, we had in-depth conversations. I like to usually play 21 questions with anybody that I go on a date with, or anybody
I
I'm
love
interested in,
it.
and ask each other questions back and forth, and just try to be open and honest as possibly as you can possibly be. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh no, you are being so real right now. Like conversation is sexy as hell. being able to hold a conversation and it's just flowing nicely, like child, to get other things flowing as well. Like it really does because me and my husband, I swear, the times where the shit is popping the most is when we're discussing things, we're having easy conversation, we're allowing our chemistry to flow just even during the day. Like it
Mm-hmm.
be just sexy just how well things are working, you know, how good the conversation is going is such a turn on and can lead to such good sex.
Yeah, yeah. And that's me. I'm in school and I'm taking a bunch of human sexuality classes because at one point in my life I wanted to be a scientist and then turn it into a bachelor's in nursing. And then I had a son who had his tonsils removed. And then from that point on, at the sight of blood or anything slimy, I passed out. So I had to change my whole major. But I still stayed in psychology now, but it's kind of still in the same field. So I still had to take a bunch of human sexuality classes, and I'm realizing that some of the things that we say now have had so many changes. Like everything has changed. You can't just say these old things. But and I know I think I'm a sapiopath, so I'm realizing that I am attracted to very intelligent men, and it is just the construction of their brain. And like I for example, I had a friend, he was really smart with finance, and he helped me do one of my I had a personal finance class. I told him what I need to do, and he brought the assignment the next day. I'm like, I really didn't want you to do it for me, but I appreciate it. And then I'm thinking, like, why is he attractive now? Why is this friend of mine who I'm not attracted to is super attractive now? And when I took that class, that made sense to me. I'm like, oh, that's why. Like, I was attracted to his brain, but he's a friend. Like, he's really a friend of mine. So that passed, once I realized what it was. So now we just friends. But that was like my first realization that that was the kind of person I am. I always like the nerdy guys anyway. People say, oh, the nerdy guys, but there's a whole saying for it. So it is what it
Mm.
is. You know what
Hmm.
I mean?
I'm like, I know you better teach me something,
Hmm.
Zaddy.
And girls date guys, and I get it. Like, I'm not knocking anybody that date people, and then they expect this and that, name brand stuff, fancy dinners, and all this money to be spent on them. And it's like, I get that, but you can also have this man if he's good with finance, or if he knows about stocks. Have them buy you that. Have them buy you some stock, some property, some land. Like, double up. You know what I mean? Like, this extra
Yeah.
stuff. Yes, later on you can probably sell your Chanel bag and still make money. But at the end of the day, also let your money make money for you while you're doing that. So you'll have a couple of stocks in this, and then you'll have that Chanel bag for later to sell if you want, or repurpose. Whatever everybody calling it, but that's what I call it. But
Mm.
that's what I did. I met a couple of guys. I knew some people. He did really well in crypto, so he explained crypto to me. And anytime I have any questions about crypto, I can ask him. And I also did. I shouldn't say this, some insider trading stuff, but and I brought some stock,
Allegedly.
and I'm happy about it because I think I brought it like $3, and now it's worth like $79. So I just wish I would have brought more.
Mm.
So, everything in dating, as long as he can upgrade you in any way, that's a plus for me. Even if y'all don't make it, it's still something that's yours and in your name. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I love that. You gotta see value where there is value. So
Yeah.
I feel that. I very much feel it. Ooh, talking about all this. Like, you honestly still have me thinking about this catfish story. Like, you brought it up twice, and I honestly can't stop thinking about it. Like,
Well,
it's always out the back of my brain. I'm like, not catfish.
well, you know how usual catfishes are. Like, I'm not. Some people, like when I first jumped on a dating app, they're like, "Why are you on a dating app? You're so pretty." I'm like, first of all, the dating app says made for people who don't have time to date. So it doesn't have anything to do with your looks. If you literally don't have time to go out and date, this is what you're on the app for. So I
Hmm.
had that happen. I've had guys on there when I was on there like, well, why are you on the app if you're not responding? Again, let's go back to what the app is for. But at the end of the day, I met a gentleman, very cool person. I liked him because he was really good with his hands, very smart guy. And the one thing I'm gonna say about this, because I don't know if you're gonna see this podcast or not, but one thing I will say is if you know that you are a gentleman and you're maybe a little heavier than you were 5 years ago, just be honest about it. Not every female, has that how you say, materialistic or visual kind of female that just wants you to look a certain way. Like there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with a how you say it, a dad bod. That's what I call it. The dad bod is valuable. Okay. Other females might not like it, but there are some out here in this world who like the dad bod. So
There's
um
somebody for
yeah,
everybody.
there is.
Everybody likes somebody.
And I
But
like
no,
a
they
little
be
weight.
irritating me with that because I know I try to tell them oh my god, my man's picture on his social media is at least 10 years old. I'm like, sir, you don't even have the same. For me, it's about hair. I'm like, your hair doesn't even look like that anymore.
Yeah.
What are you doing deceiving people out here?
Yeah.
He literally has his hair in his profile picture short as hell. His hair is down his back now. I'm
Mhm.
like, that is the passage of time.
Yeah.
Okay, that is what that's showing. Update the pictures, men.
Yeah.
Masculine folks probably too. Just go ahead and update your profile picture for me. No matter how recent you feel like it is, go ahead and update it for me.
Yeah, because there's nothing wrong with that. Dad bods are in. Real short story. We went on a girls trip, and I went for my girlfriend's her birthday. We're out there, and this guy is working the beach, shirt off. He might have 3% body fat, and I'm looking at everybody going over. I'm like, he is working the beach, and then I see the dad bods. I'm like, yeah, see, you're gonna miss out because there's some value over here. You chasing the one guy who's working all the female on the beach when there's plenty of dad bods over here that look really
Oh,
nice. You know what I mean? Like that's all I'm saying. So
yeah.
yeah, dad bods are in, guys. Don't worry about it.
And like
Do your thing.
for me, it's like the whole person, right? Like be an attractive person, but I don't necessarily find the guy who's like working it for the whole beach attractive. I like my man silent, tucked in a corner somewhere,
Yeah, he was
not
working the
saying or
beach.
doing too much.
He was working the beach. He was also selling coconuts and things like that, taking women out on a canoe. Because that would be kind of weird if a guy like, yeah, let me go on a canoe. He probably would have been like, no, you, I can't take. Gotta be a certain weight. I don't know, but it was funny to me because I'm looking at
Look,
this
if you
man
trying to
like,
make money, you trying to make money.
okay, he's like, we're having a bonfire. No, we not. I'm not coming back. We're not coming back to the beach. We not. We'll be back during the day, not at the nighttime. So yeah,
The
but
most.
yeah, I'm sorry I took you off topic, but yeah, dating was a thing. I had some ups
Now
and downs.
looking, how are you able to prioritize pleasure within this like new space that you're in, really?
I guess like I said with that COVID dating culture, it kind of messed it up, for other guys. And I mean maybe even for women too. I believe one of my male friends, he met a girl. We both kind of moved out here at the same time. I kind of came out first for a rotation for work, and then he got a new job working where I was at. And
Mm-hmm.
from what I was told, like women are man eaters out here, and then you got to be careful because they're women in powerful positions. So, like, if you're talking to somebody they might like, they might not hire you. So, whole time I'm like, I'm not walking with no guy. Oh, you need directions? Nope, just point me and I'm gonna go point left, right, left. Thank you. But he was telling me he would jumped on the same app as me, and it was funny because at one point he sent me a picture of me, like, guess who I bumped into, and I was laughing like, wow. But he had met a young lady, very smart. I think she had her master's, very educated, and yeah, they might like he, I guess, might have hooked up with her or something, and then she texted him like, "Listen, you're a really nice guy," because she even brought him like a housewarming gift to his house, his apartment, everything, really nice. And she was like, "Listen, I usually just smash and pass, but you're a really nice guy, so I'm gonna let you know, like I'm not really interested in a relationship." And he was like, "What?" So when I heard, I was like, "What?" Too, like, dang, women out here just smashing and passing, because I didn't know. So again, I'm not gonna say it was just guys. It was, I mean, just girls doing it. It was, um, it was a season for it. And I might say some of the guys that I met were still thinking it was that season for everybody, and I didn't even know about the season. I'm like, nah, I don't. No, I'm actually go ahead and head out because because I would never meet them at their place, but like right before COVID got crazy, they closed down a couple of places, but you could still kind of dine in. They had like the 10, 12 people kind of thing going on. So we still go out and they, oh, you want to, no, actually I don't like, and I'm surprised you asked me that. So learning that culture during the dating was hard to even find somebody sexually attractive because they were so stuck on what other people was doing. It kind of like, threw
Mm-hmm.
off the vibe. Like, you know what, this is a little off. I don't, I'm too in tune with myself to just go and meet you at your place, some random place I never been, and do things where other people was like, it's the end of days, I'm gonna do what I want. And, and I'm like, no, I actually got two kids
Very
to
much
live for,
that.
and I can't, it's not the end of days for me. Even if it was the end of days, I gotta make sure, everybody that
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking care of is okay. So it was very hard to be pleasuring. So again, you got to learn yourself sexually. So
Yeah.
when you have those, how you say it, cold times or, dry spells, there it is, you got yourself,
No, that's real. Even prioritizing pleasure has to be, a personal journey and a personal responsibility to a certain extent. So, knowing yourself and knowing what turns you on and knowing what makes you feel good is only going to improve the situation with you and your partner. And then there's also that communication piece that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
A lot, because if you know what makes you feel good and you're not sharing it
Yeah.
or verbally responding to it in a way that someone can decipher,
Hmm.
then how are you gonna get what you want, and how are you gonna get what you need?
Yeah, closed mouths don't get fed. I tell my kids all the time, "Oh, you hungry? Well, closed mouths don't get fed, or you need some socks closed." But it's a real thing, and I firmly believe, and even when I was married, if it was something I wasn't getting, I would let my ex husband know, like, listen, I need this, that, and the third, and if you can't provide that for me, then it's gonna be a problem. I've had times where he's was in the military and had a little bit of PTSD. So we would go. It would be times when it was few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for example, I was buying these body butters from this gentleman. He makes his own body butters, everything vegan and natural. So you know how it is. You want to support black businesses, and you want that nice natural stuff. And his body scrubs, he don't even call them that. He call them body something because I don't want to mess them up. But they were really good. And so he had a kiosk in the mall, and I went. And he also made like massage oil. So he was doing hand scrubs where he does the hand scrub, and he let people wash their hand and see how dirty the dirt comes off in the bowl and everything like that. At the time I come to pick up my package, he was doing, massages. So he's like, come on, and the girl, come on, get the massage. And I'm like, lady, I don't want to be massaged. I want to pick up my package and go home. I'm tired. And so he like, come on, so I come get this massage. And then, in the middle of it, I'm like, oh, okay, I need to go home. So I calls my, husband at the time, like, listen, you need to be me home now. And I let him know, like, listen, I was feeling some type of way today and I don't like the way I felt. So I need you to step up and do what you need to do for me. And he was like, oh, okay, but of course, when you have two people trying to, raise kids and then you both have jobs and of course you have a partnership. I would go to work late so that I could make sure the kids get on a bus, and he would go to work early so you come home and cook. So we had like a really good team, but it's just hard to make time for us. So I had to
Mm-hmm.
demand some things, and he had some demands too because at one point I was like, man, I'm gonna fill this time with school, work, kids, and then I'm gonna have my downtime. And downtime was his problem. Oh, I don't. You want to go out? I'm like, listen, I'm gonna go out with my girlfriends for a little bit. Either you gonna argue me down for 2 hours and I'm gonna come home later, or you gonna let me go now and I'm gonna come home early because I was known as Keishia lead a party early. So let me go early and I'm gonna come back home early. I was just like, I just want to get out. I don't want to be out all night. I'm a Cancer. I want to go back home. You know
Yeah,
what I
but
mean?
having that time to yourself and having time, away from your partner is sexy. You
Yeah.
get to miss them. Like, a little distance does make the heart grow fonder, and I absolutely am a fan of time alone. I'm a Virgo, married to a Virgo. Okay, we both like our alone time,
Yeah.
so it's not about to be too much of an issue. Honestly, we have to make a point to make sure we're spending enough quality time together, because that's one of my love languages. Even though I'm not always the best at doing it, because I'll be over here focused on work and whatever my next project is, but really feeding that relationship is going to keep that sex real gushy
Yeah.
like. So it just has to happen, and it's a bit of a sacrifice that happens,
Yeah.
especially we all grown. We all have our things that we got to do. We have things that drain us. I was talking recently with someone about how, a situation that I allowed myself to be in at work for a long time ended up affecting my relationship and the sex that we are having, and the amount of it that we are having. Because if I'm over here stressed, pressed, and needing to decompress for 6 hours after work every
Yeah.
day by myself, because I can't even have people talk to me no more, where does that leave space for for pleasure or flirting and foreplay and all the things that you want to be a part of a full and thriving sex life?
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with that, and now that I'm happy I'm not back out dating. And even when I was dating, I met a couple of people, and then, I don't even know. Like, I just had to end some things with people. Like, not that we have a rotation or a roster, but you meet people, and when you're just, I mean, the thing is, people take dating as really like in a relationship too. It's like, I guess we got to go back to saying courting each other now. So when you're courting people, you don't really have an obligation to them. But my sister told me, "Oh, you're too nice," because I'll be like, let's go out to lunch, and then I'll let them know. Then, like, I'm kind of not really interested. It's really nice meet, whatever. I would like to let that person know straight up, because I like to end things on a good note. Because I would hate to be out with my new guy and, oh, you gotta, and then we gotta argue about
Mhm.
nothing. So, or just ghosting people, because no one likes to be ghosted. No one, like, ghosting is like one of the worst things that you could do to somebody, because they, like, don't know, like, and then it depends on how good things is going, and you just stop talking to them. It's like, but at the end of the day, there are some people out here, even if you told them, they don't get it. You kind of gotta tell, block them.
Mhm.
But anyway, you can't, like, how you say it, control other people's crazy. So I'm realizing that. I'm like, okay, now, Keisha, I could text people, listen, I'm not interested. I don't have to go out to lunch with
Yeah.
you and order a tea and then, tell you this and that. But, I did have one gentleman I was dating, very nice guy. Not my usual, because I'm not really, like, not that I have a preference. No, I have a preference. Like, if I have a preference. Even my friends know, like, this is your type, Keisha. But he was like a little bit not my type, like not my usual, but I liked him. We had really good chemistry. But I met somebody else, and I had to let him know, and he was devastated. And I was surprised, like, why are you
Dang.
so devastated? Like, I guess he was like, because he had said to me, like, if you told me you want to be a boyfriend, and I would be your boyfriend. And I'm like, well, I waited a bit and told him. But anyway, in the midst of meeting these people, I took some time to myself too. Like, let me, have a little bit of my time, because when you get divorced, you kind of want to chill. That's what I did. I kind of chilled. I get used to being alone. Then I
Mhm.
started dating, and then you're dating so much, you really don't have time for yourself. Of course, you might get your nails done. That's regular stuff, but you really don't have time to just sit down and not have to pick up your phone and text somebody, or not have to respond to a text. So
Mhm.
I did take a little bit of a break from dating, and I said, well, if it's meant to be for me, then it'll be for me, and then that was basically what I was doing for like a couple of months.
And that's needed too.
Mm,
That self-love, that self-knowledge journey is so essential. Again, like, if you don't know what you like, if you don't know what makes you feel good, how are you going to communicate that to someone else?
yeah.
So, very real. I have a question. I feel like we've been, like, kind of talking about sex a lot. Obviously, that's the topic of this relationship, specifically sex in relationships. So we've been talking about dating too. But where sex and dating intersect, is sex a deal breaker for you in a relationship? If it ain't snapping or if it ain't popping,
If it's not lit,
if
huh?
backs ain't being cracked.
If it's not trending, let me stop. I would have something in my eye, like, right when you asked me that question. But let me see. I wouldn't say it's a deal breaker for me, because sometimes you got to learn each other. Like, in the
Mhm.
course of courting, because I really don't. I would like to say dating, but people get that mixed up. But in the course of courting, you, of course, kind of got it. That's another reason why I like to do 21 questions, because sometimes when you do that, you can ask really bold questions when you do that. So if you're really courting somebody, you really want to get to know them, you'll have these kind of conversations with them and kind of remember in the back of your head, this is what this person said they like and this is how they are.
Yeah.
So, on top of doing that, you also have to take time out to, when you're doing, like, if you decide to have sex or, engage in sexual activities, to, like, really how you say it, really, like, interact with your partner when you're doing it. Like, if you do something and she's reacting away, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna keep that in the back of my head. And then, maybe a couple of days later, just talk about it. Like, did you enjoy that, or how was this to you? And then, as long as you guys can keep open communication, now that when you have that sexual interaction, you can kind of tell each other what you want. Like, I want you to talk dirty, or I want you to do this. So you guys are more comfortable. So, like, if you started in the courting phase, you can be way more comfortable discussing things when you're having already a sexual interaction. Or even if you feel like he's not performing oral sex right, you can say, hey, let's take 10 minutes and I can just show you what I like. Or, he did something that you like one time and never did again. You want to tell him, like, hey, I kind of like blah, blah, blah. So
Mm.
it's kind of, good, like, for example, on Instagram, I watched a video of a young lady saying that her first date, she liked to ask like 8 or 9 questions, and all those questions, well, not all, some more than half, were very personal. And I went on her post and I was like, listen, I like to play 21 questions too, but asking somebody things like how many kids do you have and this and that can be off-putting for a guy, because I'm pretty sure this probably his X amount of date with this person next. How many kids do you have? This and that. How much money you make? Those things are real personal, and it's kind of like for females, if a guy asks you, what do you bring to the table, automatically you're like, I'm gonna eat this salad and then I'm gonna eat this chicken whatever, and I'm gonna leave, and I'm gonna text him like I'm not interested, because it's very, some of these questions can come off as aggressive, and I try to ask aggressive questions when it's time for that, not the very first date, because that's very, that's really off-putting. It's like somebody asking you as a female, how many kids do you have, how many baby fathers you got, and it's like, what, so you kind of gotta go on your date and see that person, and then ask questions as they feel comfortable discussing. And then you can always play this game on your fourth and fifth date as well, and then get more personal. But a lot of people make that mistake of, and sometimes guys are okay with the question because they're open to dating, like they're mature enough and they actually ready to date, so they'll answer these questions and you'll get lucky
Mm.
with that. But with single women having 5% of men to date nowadays, I wouldn't even start off with those type of questions. But when you're courting somebody,
You
you
should kind
know,
of have the emotional connection
yeah,
first
like, kind of
before
get
you
to know
find out
that.
how many kids and
Yes,
babies mamas you got to deal with.
kind of, because then he'll tell you on his own. Like, if you ask him regular questions, you can ask questions tippy toeing around it, and then when he's comfortable, he'll say, you asked me that one question, so yeah, I got a 4-year-old son. And then he'll tell you on his own because he's comfortable with you. It's all about people being comfortable, just like us females. You don't want to go straight to somebody's house because you're not going to feel comfortable, or you don't want nobody to look you in your face and say, how many baby fathers do you have, and you like, and it's just off putting. But
No, I'm actually hearing you in this because, like, for me, I wasn't asking questions like that when I was dating, largely because I did not care about what they
mm,
were doing in their lives personally. I wanted more to know, like, what can you do for me, like that kind of situation. But I get what you're saying, and I even feel like, you're really extending some compassion to the other party that I feel like I don't know that that comes naturally to me to do either. So I'm like, I'm really listening to you, and I'm like, okay, I hear you. You're like, get to know who they are, what's important to you, what do you like, what do you not like, what have you learned in the past, what's a mistake you never want to make again, maybe
yeah,
like things like that before you're asking, oh, what school did you go to, how much are you making, what's your
yeah,
job. Okay. Look, I'm not mad at you as long as we can ask those questions.
yeah, because I have a lot of male friends, and it's like, I see females too. I'm in this group, and I see females saying, single girls or whatever are dating, and they're like, well, I don't understand why men say they don't want a masculine women. It's like, not because they think you have muscles or this and that, it's the aggressiveness. And going on a first, imagine like you pulling up on a first date, And then this guy's like, so how many kids have you had? How many abortions have you had? That those type of questions when you're digging into their finance and their personal question on the first date is like that type of thing. And especially for somebody who's actually taking you on this date and then paying for the date. I'm not saying you got to be easy on them, but you, some of these women, you want more kids? It's a lot. Like I've had guys tell me that, like, yeah, I took her on the date. She got drunk and was crying. I'm like, Lord, like females, and it might just be, I'm in the DMV, so it might just be a DMV thing because these women are super educated, very smart, really good jobs. They set their life up a certain way, and now they ready to settle down. And these guys are like, chill out. I don't even know you. We only been here 10 minutes, and you
Yeah,
asking
that's
me
what
all this
we on our
questions.
healing journeys here because we
Yeah,
all live in a mess,
it's possible,
and it's
you make a
okay.
couple of mistakes and then you come back. But I've seen a lot of females that just, one girl was like, I'm going on a date. What is the How do you start a question about a sugar daddy? Like, how do you I was like, what? I'm not knocking
Right.
your hustle, but like, what? How do you ask questions to set it up the way you want with a possible sugar? I'm like, yeah, this is crazy. Like, or
You
like
know,
women
oh,
say like,
yeah.
I like men to be taking the initiative. I want to go on a date, and then they ask me where I want to go. Do that because that's the best. If a man asks you where you want to go, just send him 4 restaurants. And if he's like, well, listen, I know you want to go, you pick, just pick, sis, because then you could pick a place close to your house so that you don't have to waste your gas. You let him pick, it's going to be closer to his house, and you might be driving further than you want. Like some of these things that we have our pet peeves about, we gotta kind of think like, they're thinking the same thing we're thinking. Like, you want him to plan today. He kind of like want to pick where you want to eat. Like it's not always a negative thing. And guys sometimes, they do set up a date and it's like right around the corner from your house, and they're like, you want to come back to my house? No, I just met you. And that question is just, them asking you that is like you asking them, so how much money you make?
Yeah, no, I see both sides of this because I get like, you know, showing compassion to, again, the other party that you're there seeing. I often run through my mind, like when I'm having an expectation or I want my man to do something, I'm like, okay, would I uphold this expectation if he had it for me, or would I laugh in his face? And that's kind of like, if I'm not trying to do it and I'm not trying to have him come at me like that, then I'm not going to come at him like that. And I'm not going to have this expectation for him. So I get that. But on the other side, I also get like being someone who makes a lot of decisions all day long, like wanting someone else to make the decisions for you. But for me, like I'm a picky eater. So like using the
Yeah.
restaurant situation with me is not a good example. I will always gladly choose the restaurant
Right.
every single time.
Yep, me too. Because you just never know. Like you don't know this guy. He might pick a restaurant that's not really to your liking, and right around the corner from his house, or who knows. So it's like, that's all I'm saying about dating. That's just my little
Hmm.
401. Like for me, I always pick like a public place, somewhere not too close but not too far from my house. Because I went on one day, I went on and females don't like coffee dates. I like coffee dates. If a guy's like, hey, let's just meet at a park and talk, let's do that because I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to get dressed up and get all cute and I get there and I'm like, oh, why did I come here? So sometimes I
Hmm.
take those coffee dates and things like that. And I went on one, and he sent me the wrong address. So now I'm mad.
God.
But I still pull up. So he sends me the address, which is right around the corner from his job. He was a personal trainer at the gym, right around the corner from his job. And then when I had to do all that coming around, he's like, oh, you're running late. I'm going to go to the. No, you sent me the wrong address. I'm not running late. So I said, fine. I'm still going to pull up to the gym. We go in there. We're talking. I'm just like, I don't even want to. I don't even know why I'm here. I'm about to actually go back around the corner to the Starbucks and get me some tea and go home. I'm not interested. You know what I mean? So, and
Hmm.
it was like 35 minutes from my house and like 5 seconds away from his job. Like I think he walked there
Mm-mm.
because he was sweating under his arm. I was like, this is
That's
not.
wild.
He
Like
was
that's not a nap and shower date, right? But
right.
I don't feel like it's high enough above a nap and shower date for
It was
me.
like, I don't mind a coffee day, but you could walk to work and he had the sweaty armpits, breath was kicking. He looked like he had like halitosis. Looked like he bit into a piece of bread. He had it all in between his teeth. I was like, but I let him finish, and then he said, "Well, I got a client in whatever minutes." I said, "Fine." I left, and then text him like, I'm no longer interested." He still texts me, "Hey, love, I'm no longer interested, sir. Thank you, but no, thank you." you
At
know?
least we're communicating. And I'm hearing that, like, it sounds like sex isn't a deal breaker for you as long as
No,
they
it's
can work
not.
on it.
Yeah, it's not. Deal breakers for me is if I'm in a relationship with you and you father another child. That is it. You pack your stuff. Don't even come in the house and tell me. Just immediately pack your stuff and I already know what's going on. Just go ahead and deal breaker is that. I can't. Mm-mm.
I think sex may be a deal breaker for me, but I'm gonna just be real about it. Because I'm like, for fathering another child,
You know?
uh, back all the way up to me just not getting enough sex, and I already got a problem.
Right. Just pack your stuff because at this point you give it to somebody else and bring the child now. Now
Right,
I don't
like
have this
insult to
energy.
injury,
You know,
salt
like
in my wounds. Oh hell no.
just go and get out of here. You know, pouring lemon in it. Get on out of here, sir. Take all your stuff with you. Matter of fact, don't even take none. I'll pack it up for you. It'll be sitting outside. Come when you come. Otherwise, it'll be in the wind.
Mm-mm.
Yep.
Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is how, sex and relationships can really be tied to your self-love journey and your healing journey.
Well, I will say, when I first was going through my divorce, I took 3 weeks off, and I went to Dominican Republic, and I stayed at a nice little resort, and everything was included, and I just really enjoyed being by myself. Like, really, just took the time to get to know me, realize what I wanted, things that when I was in my marriage I didn't get, the things that I want moving forward in a relationship. And I had counseling during a divorce, and then after, my counselor's like, after the divorce, see me for a year, don't date for a year. But like, I don't know, a couple of months into that, she's like, Keisha, I think you're ready. Because I really took time out to get to know me, realize like moving forward, I'm gonna trust my intuition. I'm gonna trust
Mhm.
myself. It's always me over anybody else, and love me more. As much as I want somebody to love me, I'm gonna love myself that much. And you know what I
Yes.
mean? And so that's why I feel like the energy you put out, you receive, and the guys I met, I feel like the energy I put out, I met some really nice positive guys. And funny story, I didn't even tell my fiance this because now I have a fiance, yay. But
Hey.
me and him, when I met, I did tell him this one. When I met him on a dating app, me and my girlfriend, she was on another app. She hopped on this app. I screenshotted him, was like, this one right here is me. That is me. So if you see him, keep it pushing. And we laughed about it. But like like we met each other and we were supposed to go out on a date. Now he was the first person I ever like went to the house on the first date. He's like, here's my address. We'll meet here. You can park your car here, and we'll go up the block and take like those little. They have these little carts or bikes that you could ride around. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
I love those.
I'm scared of them. So I had like the
They're so fun.
the knee and elbow pads, the helmet, because
Yeah,
I am super accident prone. Like I got a paper cut the other day and called it before it happened because that's just the way things are with me. It just with my luck is what I call it. But so I get there, it's beautiful weather, it's sunny out. I get out my car, it is pouring now because I parked in the garage. It is pouring. So he's like, "Listen, I know this unconventional." He's like, "I would have said I stay outside because they had like a nice little sitting area, but it was like a very thin cover." So he's like, "I know you don't want to come up, but it's raining." So I actually went up and we met. Like we had met one time before, and the energy was right, so I felt comfortable. Went up, we stayed there, and that time just flew by. We watched TV, we laughed, and it was just a really nice day. He was like, "It's 11 o'clock. I know you got to go to work," so I went home. And anyway, from that day forward, we just spent a lot of time with each other. But before I started dating him, I really just had to sit back because I met somebody before, and we I wasn't really emotionally available, so I had to sit back and love me a little bit more.
Mhm.
And then when I was dating him, he was like, "You seem a little standoffish, so I'm gonna have to step up my game." So dating him, we have some open communication, like the open communication I've never experienced in my life. Like, we laugh and joke about past experiences. We talk about things that happened in our past relationships, and a lot of men don't want to hear that mess, but he's like want to hear
Mhm.
95% of anything that happened. And it's just like I just feel like I'm really really happy right now, and
Yeah.
I feel like, and I've never met a person like this, but I feel like at this point I've met my person.
I know y'all better get married talking like that.
Yeah, we have set we set a date, but we have a lot going on right now, so
Mm,
we trying to hold on to that date. But if it doesn't happen that date, we got to push it. But it's okay because we're pretty much just gonna stay on track with the date we set, you know. So we'll see how it goes. But you know, healing myself through that was probably the best bet because I probably wouldn't have even went out with him or anybody because I felt like I just need to take time and really just sit back and just happened to get on the app one day and me and him started talking. So it really was like a coincidence. And now that everything is moving so well, like we started dating in July, we got engaged in December and we're still together and happy. And, you know, everybody's, don't rush. I'm like, when you know, you know. When you have this soul tie to somebody, even before you became sexual, you just know, you know, like I met him in late June, early July and I went to Los Angeles in August, and my girlfriend was with me. He's like, "Listen, I'm gonna be in Vegas. Just fly out." So my girlfriend's like, "Girl, you don't even know him." I'm like, "But I don't have a fear." So I went home, and then I said, "You know what? I'm gonna fly out." So I flew out, and it was his birthday, and we had a really great time. Like it was just
mm,
like me and him had been dating for like 5, 6 years. That's how much chemistry we had with each other. And he also had some dating hiccups, so we laugh. You know, we talk about that and laugh about it. And, you know, I just never dated anybody or been engaged with anybody like him. And I'm just really happy that we both had those terrible experiences. We both went through healing because he, you know, I made some mistakes, but, you know, I'm learning from it and I want to do better. And so, you know, I guess we needed that in our big age. Let me,
mm. I love when people say that. Yes. That's so beautiful though. The whole story. I'm loving it when two people find each other and things just click and you're able to communicate and you're on the same wavelength, you want the same things. Like, yes,
yeah,
always. I
yeah.
love it. So, Keisha, tell the listeners how they can find you in the real world. How can they follow you? How can they hear more of your voice?
Well, you can always follow me again on Instagram, Product of Jersey, all one word. I'm also on TikTok with the same word and probably Twitter because I just want to get the name in so nobody else can have it.
I know that's
And
right.
you can find me on Mondays or we do the recording on Mondays, but he releases it Tuesday, Wednesday at Talk My Credo on Instagram and YouTube, Podvengers on YouTube. And you can also hear me on some of the previous episodes of the Late Night Flight, and you can reach them on Instagram as well and YouTube. And thank you for having me. Hopefully soon. I went on vacation and I walked up on a sign that said, "This is your sign to start a podcast." I said, "You know what? Let me start my podcast." So I said I was going to start it late April. So you could also stay tuned to see Keashia. It will be advertised on my Instagram. So, but thank you for having me.
Yes. And this is the Hot Girls Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Salenna Green. Again, please do give this podcast a rating, leave a review, and join the conversation on social media with the hashtag Hot Girls Healing Podcast. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.